Welcome back, Blue Shirts fans, to episode number 680 of the Locked On New York Rangers podcast. I'm your host, John Chick. Just want to thank you guys, as always, for making Locked On New York Rangers your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms, and the Rangers coming off of last night's rough 5-4 loss at home against the Boston Bruins. The Bruins win both of the preseason games against the Rangers for whatever that's worth, but kind of a disappointing performance for the Rangers overall, mostly due to the fact that they gave away a 2-goal lead, got off to a pretty good start in this game overall. They were up 3-1 after the first period, scored a goal in the final minute of the first period. Everything seemed to kind of be going their way, and of course the Bruins come storming back. It was not a banner night for the New York Ranger defensemen. We'll get into that in just a little bit as well. I didn't think the Panarin, Trocheck, Kravtsov line really clicked all that well either, so we'll discuss that. We'll break down their performance, and some good coming out of this game, though. I think, obviously, Mika Zibanejad scoring 2 goals, and especially Kaapo Kakko scoring 2 goals. That is music to the ears of New York Ranger fans. I think a lot of us are waiting for Kaapo Kakko to really take that next step this year. And I think that, preseason game or not, if you ask Ranger fans, okay, somebody on the Rangers can score 2 goals tonight, who would you like it to be? I think Kaapo Kakko would be pretty high on the list of a lot of people. I mean, if Artemi Panarin does it, that's great. Hey, why not, right? That's always a good thing. But Kapo Kakko is the one, Panarin's going to be fine. Panarin's going to be Panarin. Kapo Kakko is the one that we're looking to really take a hop, skip, and a leap forward this season. And, hopefully this spills into the regular season. Kakko was actually joking after the game that, oh man, I should have saved it for the regular season. Wasn't the exact quote, but it was something along those lines. But we begin with the Igor Shesterkin situation right up until basically puck drop last night, or just a couple seconds before puck drop. We were all led to believe that Igor Shesterkin would be the starting goalie for the Rangers in this game against the Bruins, that he would play the entire game for the first time this preseason. That did not turn out to be the case. Yaroslav Halak was mysteriously between the pipes to start this game. Not too long after that, though, we found out that Igor Shesterkin was held out of the game because he had a stomach flu. So I think Ranger fans can pretty much breathe a sigh of relief there. As far as a reason why Igor didn't play in this game, I don't think it gets much more positive than that. Obviously, we hope that he's feeling better. Sounds like he was back out there at practice the next day, Thursday morning. So all things considered, good news for the New York Ranger fans. Igor missed the game last night. It's a preseason game. There's no reason to make him play if he's not feeling well. They've also mentioned that they're going to talk to Benoit Allaire. This is Gerard Gallant mentioning this. He's got to talk to Benoit Allaire, and they're going to, together, and I guess collaboratively, the entire coaching staff, determine if Igor Shesterkin should and will play in the preseason finale, which is Saturday night against the New York Islanders. They know better than I do as far as how Igor gets ready for the season and the things he needs to do to make sure he's prepared for opening night. But at first glance, I would say I would probably favor him playing. He was supposed to play in this game, wasn't able to do it. And if he doesn't play in the preseason finale, then you're looking at, more than a week of Igor Shesterkin not playing any hockey. And then, of course, you kick off the season with a heavyweight matchup against the Tampa Bay Lightning. So if it was up to me, he'd probably play. I see the other side as well. It's a preseason game. You don't want to take the chance of Igor Shesterkin getting injured. So maybe you compromise. You do another half and half. He plays the first half of the game. Maybe Yaroslav Halak plays the second half of the game. But Halak, with Igor being out of the lineup, he obviously got the start in net for the Rangers in this game. And he ends up giving up 5 goals on just 26 shots. I'll give him a little bit of a break because he didn't even know he was going to be playing in this game. Although, you always have to be ready. You always have to be, ready to go in there at the drop of a hat, basically. Halak did play well in his other 2 preseason games, and I don't think he gave up any goals that were particularly egregious in this game, but he didn't come up with those, highlight reel clutch saves either that might have given the Rangers the win in this one. But I thought more than Halak, the story of this game was the Ranger defensemen didn't really think it was a banner night for them. For starters, Lindgren and Fox did not play. Lindgren sat out with what's being called, he's the one with the lower body injury. Lindgren has a lower body injury. Jacob Trouba has the upper body injury, which, as we all know, are the only 2 injuries that exist when it comes to hockey. But Lindgren does not play in this game, and rather than put Adam Fox out there, they hold him out as well. I mean, Adam Fox, he doesn't really need the preseason. He's going to be ready to go as soon as the regular season begins. It might have been interesting to see, Fox and K'Andre Miller get a little bit of run together in the preseason. I mean, you could argue that that's what the preseason is for, mixing and matching. But overall, I'm still in favor of leaving Lindgren with Fox and leaving Miller with Trouba. And I think that's what the Rangers will do to start the regular season. But as far as this preseason game is concerned, you've got now Miller and Trouba as your top pairing. You've got then Jones and Schneider as the second pairing, and then Hayek and Bartkowski as the third pairing. And K'Andre Miller, I'm very bullish on him and his career prospects and just how good he's going to be when it's all said and done. I think he's just going to have an absolutely tremendous season this year. And I'm not alone there, by the way. It was Ryan Reeves. He gave out a hot take for this upcoming season. He thinks that K'Andre Miller is going to be a top 15 defenseman in this league. I would argue he might already be there. And I realize, some people might have some things to say about that, but K'Andre Miller, to me, is on the verge of superstardom in the NHL. But a little bit of a rough night for him in this one. There was a situation where him and Trouba were out there for the first goal that the Bruins scored. This tied the game at 1 early in the first period. Loose puck in front of the Ranger net, and Trouba and Miller just seemed to half step slow, a little bit late to react and, get the puck out of there. And, the Bruin was able to, basically just storm the front of the net, get into the crease area there, and knock the loose puck into the twine. So not great there. And then there was a goal by Zacha at the start of the second period, and I think you got to put this one on Miller, maybe a little bit on Trouba as well, but certainly Miller. This goal that was scored by Zacha cut the Ranger lead to 3-2 at the time. Miller had the puck at the blue line. He tried to thread the needle a little bit with a pass across the blue line to the other side to his right to Jacob Trouba, and the pass never got there because Zacha jumped the pass, knocked the puck into the neutral zone, picked it up in stride, went in on a breakaway, and scored. So an errant pass there by K'Andre Miller. You could argue that maybe Trouba should have, helped him out a little bit and reacted a little bit quicker, maybe, moved toward the puck as the pass was heading his way as a way to, possibly prevent that pass breakup and ultimately the breakaway and the goal for the Bruins there. But that one, I think most people would agree, probably have to put that one on K'Andre Miller. Thought it was also a rough night for Libor Hayek and Bartkowski as well. Interestingly, both of them had an assist in this game, which you don't necessarily expect. But there was a goal by Pasternak that was scored in this game where Hayek was just really out of position and Bartkowski was just kind of standing still. He got caught puck watching a little bit, and, I guess he was just trying to maintain his positioning in front of the net, but he just didn't really do anything. He didn't get in the way of a pass or approach the guy with the puck. He was just kind of there, and, the Bruins scored on that one. There was another goal where Hayek and Bartkowski were on the ice as well, and Bartkowski essentially just kind of took himself out of the play in the neutral zone. I don't know what he was doing or where he was going on this. He was on Boston's side of the red line and just kind of started chasing the puck. The Bruins make a pass, and just like that, they're entering the Rangers zone, and only Hayek is back. Hayek, he did what he could here, but he just didn't look very good. He went down to one knee, looking to maybe block the shot, or maybe, he can use his stick to block the pass, and instead, you've got Pasternak passing to his left to Krejci for what turned out to be a pretty easy tap-in goal there. So, for a lot of the Ranger defensemen, it was not a banner night. One of the Ranger defensemen who I think did play pretty well in this game, though, was Zac Jones, and to me, he's got to be on this opening night roster to start this season. I mean, I don't see any reason why he shouldn't be or why he won't be, but we're going to talk about that and a whole lot of other stuff, including line combinations, in just a second here. But first, I just want to let everybody know that today's episode of Locked On New York Rangers is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline is your number one source for football betting info this season. Find all the latest player developments, team matchups, news, podcasts, and in-depth articles and analysis on every game you can find. And as always, BetOnline remains your continued source for all your sport wagering information with live betting and up-to-the-minute scores for every sport out there. The easiest and fastest way to check in on all your favorite games and events, including NHL, MLB, MMA, boxing, and golf. Head to betonline.net or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, we just want to thank everybody for making Locked On New York Rangers your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms. And as promised, I want to go ahead and talk a little bit about the line combinations here. We're also going to talk about Zac Jones and how he fared, because I thought overall he had a pretty nice night on a night where not a lot of Rangers did. But the line combinations, and we're going to talk about both the line combinations for this game as well as the ones that were unveiled during practice on Thursday morning. But like I said, we'll start with this game against the Bruins here. You've got a top line of Mika Zibanejad, centering Chris Kreider and Jimmy Vesey. So the prophecy came true. Jimmy Vesey now on the top line for the New York Rangers. And, kind of a nondescript game for Vesey. There was one play later in this game where he almost set up Panarin for a goal. It was a really nice pass, and I guess that was during a partial line change. But we will discuss that in greater detail shortly. The second line was Vincent Trocheck, centering Artemi Panarin and Vitali Kravtsov. And not a great night for these guys. There was one instance where Trocheck left a drop pass for Artemi Panarin, kind of, a no-look pass behind his back, and Panarin picked it up, took a shot, did not score on it, but that was a nice setup and some evidence of chemistry there. But, overall, these guys just didn't really click, and I've been saying on here that I really want to see the three of these guys together, because if the Rangers are going to go with this as their second line heading into the season, then they need reps, because none of these guys have ever really played together before. Maybe Panarin and Kravtsov got a couple of shifts together 2 years ago when Kravtsov played those final 20 games with the Rangers, but for the most part, these guys are strangers, and they need reps, and they need to be playing together if they are going to be the second line going into the regular season. The third line, unchanged. You got the kid line, Rydahl centering Lafreniere and Kakko. The fourth line, Gustav Rydahl centering Sammy Blais and Barclay Goodrow. And after this game, Rydahl was reassigned to the Hartford Wolfpack, so he will not be with the Rangers to start the season. We'll talk more about that eventually as well. But yeah, the one other play, because I mentioned the Panarin, Trocheck, and Kravtsov line, the one other play that I thought was positive, there was a play where Kravtsov, he really took a pretty mean hit from the Bruins and actually drew a penalty on this. I believe the penalty was high sticking. He was taking a shot from the left faceoff circle and just got knocked to the ice. But I like the fact that Trocheck at least stood in there and got his shot away, didn't shy away from the contact. I mean, he got absolutely walloped on this play, and the fact that he drew a penalty, also a positive. But like I said, there just was not enough sustained offensive pressure from this line. The chemistry just doesn't really seem to be there, at least as of yet. We will definitely keep our eye on that trio going forward, and we'll see if they're back out there in the preseason finale against the New York Islanders. But yeah, I mean, Panarin was a -3, Trocheck was a -2, Kravtsov was a -2, and Kravtsov was a -2 despite playing a team-low 11 minutes and 32 seconds of this game. So make of that what you will. I mean, plus-minus doesn't always tell you the full story, but again, I didn't think this was a great night for the Rangers' second line. Something that I definitely want to do here, though, we've got to have some fun here. We've got to take some of the positives out of this game. We got to look at Kapo Kakko and his big night, and him continuing to excel with Filip Chytil and Alexis Lafreniere as his line mates. I want to go ahead and just break down the 2 goals that Kapo Kakko scored in this game, because Kakko, as much or maybe more than anybody else on the Rangers, is going to be under a microscope this season for sure. Year 4 with the Rangers, and thus far hasn't really lived up to the lofty expectations that were put upon him. But 2 goals in this game. The first one was in the final minute of the first period. It gave the Rangers a 3-1 lead, and it occurred on kind of a weird play. Bartkowski, this was his assist, he causes a turnover at the Ranger blue line. Puck goes straight to Kakko in the neutral zone. Kakko from the red line tried to make a short pass ahead to Alexis Lafreniere, and Lafreniere either just couldn't receive the pass, couldn't get his stick on it, or, and this is possible as well, he purposely let it go by, because whether Lafreniere was trying to get to this puck or not, it actually worked out better that he didn't, because by Lafreniere not putting his stick on the puck, what happened was the Bruins defenseman really kind of closed hard on Lafreniere. He thought Lafreniere was going to receive this pass. He did not. Instead, the puck keeps sliding ahead, toward the Bruins zone, and Kakko, who passed the puck, actually ends up essentially passing to himself, picks up the puck in stride, does a little forehand backhand on Jeremy Swayman right there on the doorstep and scores. I mean, just an easy goal for Kakko. Made it look easy anyway. I'm sure it's not easy to actually do that. But that made the score 3-1, so kind of a unique goal there. And then Kakko's second goal, another really nice shift for the kid line. Another strong game for them overall. Feels like they spend almost the entirety of every single one of their shifts in the attacking zone. I mean, it just feels that way. It felt that way in the playoffs last year. It's felt that way in the preseason this year. But, their puck possession, just outstanding. And you don't really think of these guys as, like, warriors along the boards, but they seem to win more board battles than they lose. And this whole goal was started by Filip Chytil winning a board battle. He's behind the net. He turns away from the Bruins defenseman. He passes in front to Lafreniere. Lafreniere tried to pass across the crease to his right to Kakko. The puck gets deflected back toward the blue line. Libor Hájek is there. Hájek winds back and just blasts it. And, Swayman gets a piece of it. It's laying there. It's trickling toward the goal line. It might have gone in anyway, but Kaapo Kakko left no doubt. And the puck was essentially sitting on the goal line, and Kakko just basically reached out, tipped it in, and scored for the Rangers. So really nice to see Kaapo Kakko having a nice night on what all of us Ranger fans hope will be a big-time breakout season for him. They're going to need it because, last year Kaapo Kakko playing well was a luxury. This year, it kind of feels like it might end up being a necessity. So we'll see how that all shakes out, but an encouraging performance for sure for the kid line in general, and also specifically Kaapo Kakko as well. A couple minutes ago, I mentioned that I thought a lot of the Ranger defensemen kind of struggled in this game, but I did not think Zac Jones was one of them. You might be interested to know that Jones led all skaters in this game with 22 minutes and 3 seconds of ice time, which tells me a couple of things. First of all, he's playing well, so that's good. But secondly, he is involved in that battle for that sixth and final defenseman spot with presumably Libor Hajek, and I wouldn't really imagine anybody else is even really involved in it. But the fact that they gave him 22:03 tells me that they're giving him every opportunity to put his best foot forward and do everything he can to win that job. And I thought Zac Jones mostly took advantage of that in this game. His 22:03 of ice time also included 3 minutes and 58 seconds of time on the power play. He ended up being a -1 in this game. He did have an assist. The assist came on the power play. And I thought it was also interesting that Zac Jones was out there quarterbacking the top power play unit for the New York Rangers. Obviously that would typically be Adam Fox's job, but you had Jones out there with Panarin, with Mika, with Kreider, and with Trocheck. What they could have done, but I'm glad they didn't, they could have put Jacob Trouba on that top power play unit. Instead, Trouba was on the second power play unit, which makes sense because that's probably where he's going to be when the season starts. Trouba was out there with a kid line and Kravtsov on the second power play unit, which leaves K'Andre Miller out of the equation on the power play, which I don't know if I'm really thrilled about that. But regardless, Zac Jones got some time on the top power play unit, and he looked good. He looked very comfortable. He's quarterbacking a power play of guys that are, all-star caliber players, and he looked good doing it. And like I said, he ends up getting an assist here. He takes a shot from the blue line, and you could tell it deflected off of someone or something, and indeed it deflected off of Mika Zibanejad and went into the net, and so Mika gets the goal, 1 of 2 for him on the night. But Zac Jones, again, when this goal went in, I said he just made this team. And honestly, it shouldn't even require that. He should already be the guy that is very comfortably going to be the sixth defenseman. You never know for sure with the Rangers, but I've seen no reason to believe that Libor Hajek or anybody else could or should or will be the sixth defenseman for the New York Rangers when they line up on opening night. I think it's time to go with Zac Jones. We're going to continue talking a little bit more about this game, everything that happened, as well as the line combinations in practice, and we will do that in just a second. All right, let's go ahead and keep it rolling here on Locked On New York Rangers. I wanted to also, I know it's a preseason game, and the emphasis is more on figuring out line combinations, defense pairings, who's going to be on the power play, who's going to be on the penalty kill, who's going to actually make the team. But I figured we could go to the decisive play in this game. And it goes to show you that, hockey can be a game of inches at times because the game is tied at 4 in the third period. You've got Trocheck, one of the good things that he did in this game, along with Panarin as well. But Trocheck forced a turnover in the Boston zone, basically just poked the puck away from his guy. Jimmy Vesey picks up the loose puck. He's moving from his left to his right. Panarin's coming toward him, and Vesey with a really nice drop pass for Panarin. Panarin picks it up and just rifles a shot off the crossbar. So Rangers come within really just a couple of inches of taking the lead there, and then seconds later the Bruins go back the other way, and they score. Riley, basically, he gains entry. You had Jones and Schneider on the ice, and I'm not going to put this goal on the two of them because I thought they did a pretty good job. The Bruins were coming in fast on a 3-on-2, thought they had good positioning, but, Riley kind of surprised everybody by not passing it. He faked a shot and went around Trocheck, made a move around him. Panarin couldn't close on him in time, and then he takes a shot from in a little bit deeper and scores, makes it 5-4. That turned out to be the final goal and the game-winning goal for the Bruins. So unfortunate there. The Rangers, they're within an eyelash of taking the lead. Seconds later, they're trailing. I guess if you're going to have, a break like that, better to have it in the preseason than the regular season. But yeah, unfortunate to lose the game in that fashion. Something else I wanted to talk about today. I mentioned it a few minutes ago, but to talk about it in a little bit more detail here. Gustav Rydahl for the New York Rangers has been reassigned, or assigned, I suppose, to the Hartford Wolfpack. And the writing was kind of on the wall here, because when you think about it, he's in a training camp battle and a battle with, Carpenter, as far as the fourth line center spot is concerned. But as I mentioned, I think it was either the last episode or the one before that. I've been watching this battle. I think Rydahl has outplayed Carpenter, but a couple of reasons why Carpenter kind of had the inside track is that the Rangers can send Rydahl to the Hartford Wolfpack without exposing him to waivers. The same cannot be said for Carpenter. Carpenter's played, I believe, it's more than 300 games. I think 308 career regular season games in the NHL. So he would have to pass through waivers if the Rangers were going to send him down. Rydahl is from the SHL. This preseason run was his first taste of NHL action. And so, just because of the circumstances, even though Rydahl played Carpenter, Rydahl was always far more likely to be the one sent down to the Hartford Wolfpack over Carpenter. And that's probably the way it should be. I mean, I don't think you want to risk losing Carpenter just because Rydahl slightly outplayed him, in these preseason games here. You can always make a change somewhere in the middle of the season if Carpenter struggles or whatever the case may be. But for the time being, I can't say that I'm surprised that Rydahl is the one that got sent down, even though Carpenter, he outplayed Carpenter. And Gerard Gallant confirmed as much. Apparently during his presser this morning, and I just saw this on Twitter a couple minutes ago, he mentioned that did factor into the decision. So I can appreciate the honesty there. And with Carpenter, we'll see how it goes. I mean, he's basically just kind of a run-of-the-mill fourth-line player, but you're hopeful that he can be good on faceoffs, be good on the penalty kill, and just be a gritty, grinded-out kind of player. But I'm intrigued to see how he does, and if he does struggle, if we end up seeing Rydahl at some point this season. And then the other thing I really wanted to do here for today, before we call it, is I wanted to take a quick look at the line combinations that the Rangers rolled with during practice this morning, which is Thursday morning here, and we'll go ahead and we will get that on the screen here in just a second for those of you that are watching on YouTube, and for those of you that are not watching on YouTube, I'll just go ahead and read the lines to you. But there's the line combinations for Thursday morning's practice. You've got Mika Zibanejad centering Chris Kreider and Kapo Kakko. The revolving door continues, and Kapo Kakko now getting, at least in the practice here, and maybe in the preseason finale as well, getting a look on the top line with Mika and with Kreider. You've got a second line of Vincent Trocheck centering Artemi Panarin on the left wing, Jimmy Vesey on the right wing. So Vesey does not maintain his spot on the top line, but he's basically in just as good a situation because the Ranger top two lines are basically 1 and 1A when you think about it. So Vesey, instead of playing with Mika and Kreider, now playing with Trocheck and Panarin. That means that the third line is still made up in part by the kid line. You've still got Chytil there, Lafreniere's on the left wing, now Barclay Goodrow on the right wing. And then the fourth line, Carpenter centering Blais and Reeves. And then you've got four players skating as extras. That would be Dryden Hunt, Johnny Brodzinski, Vitali Kravtsov, and Julien Gauthier. And, this is a tweet for anybody who's not watching on YouTube right now. We're looking at a tweet from Vince Mercogliano. He always tweets out the line combinations. And he clarified later that Johnny Brodzinski was actually not on the ice, so it's possible that he'll be sent down to the Hartford Wolfpack, and he would have to clear through waivers to go there. But, yeah, I mean, looking at these line combinations, I gotta say, this is probably my least favorite of all the combos that we've seen, because if you're gonna put one of the kids into a top six role and only one of the three of them, I would like for it to be Lafreniere. I think Lafreniere showed excellent chemistry with Mika Zibanejad during the short amount of time that they were together this past season. Instead, they put Kakko there. I mean, I know Kakko just scored 2 goals, so that might have something to do with it as well. I guess, maybe in Gallant's mind and in the coaching staff's mind, Kakko has earned that spot, so I get the thinking there. Jimmy Vesey on the second line with Panarin and Trocheck over, Lafreniere, maybe even Chytil there. It's just not really doing it for me. I mean, I give Vesey props for showing up and playing for the most part as well as he has, and he's trying to make this team, but yeah, I mean, it's just not a good look to me. I mean, I'm literally just looking at these lines, and you've got Vesey in a top six role, but Lafreniere not. That's a bit of a tough sell, at least for me. And honestly, I'm kind of liking the idea that I came up with yesterday. And I mean, it's not just my idea. A lot of people have bandied this around over time, but I kind of like the idea. Maybe. I at least like it better than what they currently have. You go with the super stacked top line of Panarin, Kreider, and Zibanejad. Then the kid line becomes your second line. And then you go Trocheck and maybe Kravtsov and either VZ or Gaudreau on the third line. Just a way to get the kids into the top six. You could just move the entire kid line from the third line to the second line. They just move up and they get more ice time as a result of that. And it wouldn't be out of place either, because that line has probably been, it certainly was the best line against the Bruins and maybe the best line for the Rangers in the preseason thus far. Beyond that, we'll see. A lot of these guys are on the outside looking in. Vitali Kravtsov hasn't done enough to really distinguish himself and really kind of secure his spot, I don't think. Maybe the Rangers could still work on a trade there. I would like to see Kravtsov get an opportunity this season. I think at a certain point, it's just sink or swim, and you got to see what you've got. The fact that Kravtsov has been on this team as long as he has, and with all the drama and the trade demands and everything else, you're right there. The regular season's about to start, so I wouldn't mind seeing Kravtsov get a little bit of a chance, at least, at the start of the season, and you kind of just make it a sink or swim. You give him kind of a short leash, because you got to win games. You can't afford to be doing, this Kravtsov experiment for the first quarter of the season or whatever if it's not working. But again, you've gone through everything you've gone through with Kravtsov. At this point, I'm willing to give him a chance at least, in the lineup. Doesn't necessarily have to be top six. Doesn't necessarily have to be the Panarin line. But I would like to see Kravtsov, just get an opportunity here, rather than, potentially risk exposing him to waivers or trading him at the 0 hour here. Let's just see what he can do. As far as, the rest of today's episode, that's pretty much it. I wanted to get to a discussion on the Ranger top line right wing options, because it continues, like I said, to just be a revolving door. We will get to that in our next episode. That will be Friday's episode. That'll be our last episode of the week. And then, of course, the Rangers going to play their preseason finale against the Islanders. Very, very curious to see how they line up in that episode, or in that game. I think that's going to be very telling as far as what they might do on opening night as well. I'm very, very curious to see how all these roster battles shake out. But that will do it for today, guys. Once again, if you'd like to get in touch with this podcast, please send an email to lockedonnyrangers@gmail.com. Once again, that is lockedonnyrangers@gmail.com. Definitely give us a follow on Twitter as well, @LO_NY_Rangers. Once again, that is @LO_NY_Rangers. And definitely subscribe to Locked On New York Rangers YouTube channel. Thanks again, guys. I'll see you next time. Thanks for making Locked On New York Rangers your first listen every day. Now make your second listen Locked On NHL. Locked On experts give you a daily 30-minute podcast on all things NHL all year long. Stay up to date on everything in the hockey world. Locked On NHL, your daily 30-minute NHL podcast.